Hi and welcome to a new practice of the week. Today I'd like to again work with the tennis balls to work on our spine or with the muscles around our spine to do sort of a massage but with movement so that the space that we create as we're putting pressure on these areas that we kind of can incorporate that relaxation, that spaciousness into our movement so that it will be more beneficial and so that we can kind of explore where our body is and how our body works as we add pressure and where kind of our interesting points are and how we can, by inviting movement, maybe soften them more easily. You can either do this lying on the ground where your body weight will be on the balls, or you can do this against a wall. I don't have much like flat wall here. But if you're lying on the ground with the tennis balls and it's too much, then just go and do it against the wall, like in kind of a wall sit manner where you just place the balls against the wall and you can kind of lean into it like that. Because we don't want to get into very strong sensations. We want to work in a place where your body can relax, where you can breathe, and where you don't kind of tense up. So try to be gentle with yourself, which always is a good idea, but with this also. So you'll need a belt for the arm movements that we'll do later and something to support the head as the balls move up. In the beginning it might not be necessary, but it might be nice. And so also make sure that you can enjoy and be comfortable, because as soon as the body is more comfortable it can relax more. So the intention is also we're not just working with muscles, we're also working with the nervous system. And as soon as the nervous system can calm down, muscles and tissues are more likely to relax and to soften because they're not excited and we're not stimulating them, so they can relax. So as we're doing these movements, like I said, don't make it too intense because that will kind of activate this protective system of your body, which will not have a relaxing effect. So that's kind of the other thing. Sometimes it's like, yeah, it needs to hurt, but does it really? So we'll start with the tennis balls right above the sacrum, so the hard bone that is here, like right here where the spine starts, and you don't have the hard bones of the hips. We'll just place the tennis balls there to start. Your butt will be on the ground. And just find, you can either place the balls like touching each other, because the little V that will be in between is wide enough for the spine. You can also choose to place the balls a little bit more separate from each other, then you just get into another line on your back. So there's kind of like two lines, one like when the balls are together and one where the balls are a bit separated, and you can just play around with that as well to see how that works. So from here, just first take a moment to sense if this is okay or if you would be better being against the wall. So your whole body can kind of relax if that's available. So the shoulders are resting on the ground, the buttocks are resting on the ground, the feet are resting on the ground. Legs are bent. And just take a moment to sense your body as you're lying here, noticing the pressure, noticing your breath, the movement of it. then from here, you can just one leg at a time lift it up and just see how that goes. Just to start it with, noticing if the pelvis is quiet or not, which will be easier to feel. And then just relax that. And then from here, we're just gonna arch the back a little bit. So as the balls are below, it's a very small movement, but the pelvis is rolling forward, so the tailbone, the little bone at the end of the spinal column, is moving down. So exaggerated, it's going that way and it's going back, and you don't have to lift it off the ground. So it's a very small movement, but in that sense you're just kind of playing around with the pressure there. Feet on the ground, keep breathing. And then we're just going to move the balls a little bit up. And again, having them touching each other or not. And again, just first take a moment to be here, sense the pressure, if it's okay, if you can let go, if it's too much. You can always change position. Sometimes just going a centimeter up or down has a different effect. So again, just finding the place where you can allow your body to sink into the pressure of the balls without this tensing up, that you feel that your shoulders are tensing, that your jaw might be clenching, you're curling up your toes, you're gripping with your toes, or you are not able to breathe fully. And then from here again, I'm just gonna make a small movement with the pelvis. And don't go for the big movement. Just really go for inviting movement, noticing how that movement shifts the weight that is on the tennis balls. Noticing as you're making this movement if you can keep the neck relaxed, the jaw relaxed. Feet on the ground. And be as gentle with the movement as you can be. Just inviting movement and just noticing how that changes the pressure, or if that changes the pressure that you feel with the tennis balls. And then come back to the middle. And then just bring your knees and your feet together and just make a very small twist. So you're just moving the legs from 11 o'clock to 1 o'clock so that you can feel your body leaning into one ball and leaning into the other ball. Keep breathing. Notice if there's anything else happening in your body, and if you notice that your shoulder is tensing, find the range of motion where that doesn't happen. So make the movement smaller and just explore there. And keep looking at if maybe with some more movement and some time passing by, there is more space to move, or not. And then that's just where you are at today, which is good. As long as you feel where you're going and what you're doing. And then coming back to the center, placing the feet again hip width apart. And then one final movement is hiking up the hips. So you're bringing your hip and your rib towards each other in a very small manner. Noticing if you're lifting the hip up as well, or if you can just, like, as if your pelvis is like a disc that's going from one side to the other. Something that's on the ground, making that movement instead of that movement. And again, just noticing how that feels. Might be more tricky to do. Use your hands to kind of guide your hips up, lengthen one side, shorten the other. If you feel that you're not getting the movement, push your hip away a bit, push the other hip away, and allowing the torso to just rest on the ground. So you're not moving your shoulders or your ribs. It's just the pelvis, which sometimes sounds more easy than it can be. And then coming back to the center. And then again, we'll move the tennis balls a bit up. So mine now are around end of the breastbone height, which is a bit more intense as I feel. So again, just breathe. Noticing that I'm arcing my lower back a bit, so I'm just gonna see. I'm tensing up my shoulders. So seeing if with a couple of breaths this can soften. If not, then this might not be the place for me to work. Might be better to go down a bit or go up a bit, or move my body against the wall so that it doesn't have this pressure, or it has the pressure but not this intense. But I can feel that my body can soften. So again, from here, just move the pelvis a bit. Bring the tailbone down and bring the tailbone up, but just in a very small manner. So it's just kind of rocking the pelvis like this over the floor, over the ground, and noticing how the tennis balls kind of move. Noticing if you want to tense anything in your body. And coming back to center. And then from there, we go into the little twist. And noticing that my shoulders wanted to get involved, so I'm just going to start a little bit smaller. Breathing, sensing how the weight is shifting, and seeing if my body can stay soft while I do this. And what might help is breathe in the direction of where you can sense the tennis ball. So kind of invite extra movement through breathing in that area where the tennis balls are touching the back of the body. So that it's not just the pressure of the body weight that is shifting on the balls. That is just kind of like pressing downwards, but that there's also this expansion happening. So because you're moving the ribs as you breathe. Noticing your jaw, your face, and then coming back to center, and then one more time. Just notice if doing this hip hiking does something for you or not. If it does, then take a moment to play around here. If it doesn't, then either you can rest a moment or you can continue with the twist. And again, coming back to center. And then again, we'll move position. So now we're really around the ribs, the bottom of the shoulder blades, in my case. And now I need to fold the blanket a bit more to not have my chin poke up too much. And now instead of moving the pelvis, we're gonna use the belt. But again, just first take a moment to sense the balls, where they are. Notice if your body can relax into them, or if this is kind of like, wow, we're now entering into space where there's a lot of tension, which can very well be the case. And then you can either move, you can skip the area, you can move to the wall, you can explore if your body can soften. If it stays tense, then just find a way to do less. Use softer balls. Be upright so that you can regulate the weight that you use to press into the wall. Like the further your feet are away from the wall, the more your body weight will be pressing into the wall, and the closer your feet are towards the wall, the less pressure you will have. So from here, I'm going to bring the arms up. The belt is about shoulder width, so the hands are about shoulder width or a bit wider. And from here, I'm just going to bring the arms up and bring them down. Movement of the shoulder blades, allowing the whole body weight to go down still, relaxing into the balls as best as they can, and inviting your breath there so that it's not just the shoulder blades moving, but the ribs below are moving. So all the tissues around where the balls are touching are being invited to move. Notice if this movement is fluid or if it's a bit shaky. Make sure you're not bending the elbows to have that sensation of, yeah, I'm moving my arms, but just really focusing on the back of the body and trying to lift the arms, not so much from here, from your chest, but try to focus on the area here. There's muscles here that attach to the shoulder blades that make this movement happen. So see if you can connect into that and kind of like scoop the shoulder blades up like that instead of lifting them up like that. I don't know if that makes any sense. If it doesn't, you can always leave a comment. If it does, then awesome. Notice how that's different. Notice the weight of the head. You're tensing the jaw, the neck, and then coming back to rest. And we'll just gently move the arms overhead And just kind of play around with that. Again, exploring breath deeply, or well, not forced. Noticing if there's any cracking happening. If there is, then move smaller so that that doesn't happen. And just explore there. Just noticing that I was holding a bit of tension in my belly as the arms are moving overhead. Being able to soften that ever so slightly. So again, in your own body, just notice what's happening. Feeling into that, noticing if that needs to happen or if not, and if you can soften it by bringing your awareness to it or not. And just then play around in the area where there's softness, or as much softness as is available. And again, it's not about reaching the arms all the way overhead. Like for me, I know this is more than enough. And your arms will not go all the way to the ground. And relax. And then final position. I'm just going to roll down, bring my headrest with me. And I mean, you can do as many positions as you want. I'm just going to do these 5, but especially around the shoulder blades or around the mid-back, just depending on where you feel what you feel. You can have more spots. So now I'm kind of high up, base of the neck. I've separated the tennis balls just a little bit. Well, yeah, very little, but yeah, a little bit. And there's my belt. And again, just first take a moment. And this is also, you can have your arms here, which for me has a different effect in this position as having my arms here. So just notice where you have your arms and how that feels without forcing anything, but just gentle exploration, sensing into your body and breathing. And again, finding movement of the breath in the area where the tennis balls are. So it's not so much like, oh, I'm going to do high chest breathing, which gives a stress response. It's actually slow breathing in direction of the chest and the upper back. But because it's slow, it doesn't have to have this quality of, oh, I'm breathing and I'm stressed and kind of that. But you can soften your body to the amount that's available to you right now and be here, or move yourself against the wall if this is too much, which is all good. And again, you're going to grab the belt, arms about shoulder width apart, and you're just going to reach the arms up, which I'm noticing for me is a bit more intense. So I'm just going to make the movement a bit smaller. Moving my shoulder blades. And again, focusing on the area here below the armpit to make the movement from, instead of making it from the chest. Which also allows the neck, at least in my experience, allows the neck to stay softer. Because if I more lift my arms from my chest, I also feel muscles here doing work. If I move my arms up from below my armpits, then that doesn't have to happen. But don't take my word for it. By all means, experiment with your own body and with the movement that you have available. Maybe this movement that I'm making for you is just not available. If it's not, just imagine this movement to be available and just kind of play around with that. Maybe if it's just really this big, then that's already, there's movement. So just really play around, see what's there, and notice if with movement and sensing, feeling what you're doing, if it changes. Coming back to center. And center is not so much reaching all the way up, but it's more like letting them sink down. And from here you move the arms overhead. So you're not reaching, moving overhead. You're just allowing your shoulder blades to sit where they sit, and then moving the arms overhead, which is a very different movement. So you can play around with both to just notice how they're different. And again, inviting breath into this movement. I'm noticing that this is a bit of a wobbly movement for my arms. There's kind of a place here where I just do a little bit of a detour. So I'm just gonna feel into that. Relax my neck. My jaw sink in there. See if that smooths it out a bit. And then sensing there's a little bit more mobility. Playing around in that space. And then resting. Taking the tennis balls away. And just lying on the ground, taking a deep sigh, letting it all go. Enjoying that moment now that there are no more tennis balls. That you've had an interesting exploration. Having noticed maybe some tensions in your body. Having noticed how these tensions influence the mobility of the movement of the arms on and of the pelvis. And maybe how through making those movements, there is a bit more mobility entering into your body. So whenever you're ready, you can roll to the side, come up, and I want to thank you for your practice today. If you've enjoyed the practice, then give it a like. If you have any questions or concerns or doubts, then you can always send me an email or leave a comment below. You can subscribe to my channel, follow all the videos I upload every week. And if you want to work more on your body with specific questions that you have, there's still availability for one-on-one sessions. I wish you a lovely week, and hope to see you again next time.